All right. Well, it's 12:30, so let's get going for our first product AMA webinar that we have done. I would think, Grant, it probably would have been 2017, 2018. It was certainly before COVID that we would sit in one of our
That's
first
right.
offices and
Yeah, we did a
prepare
few
to do this
Facebook
properly.
lives, back in the day. But it has been a while since we've done something like this, and it's just a great opportunity to speak to everyone on a regular basis and give some insight into what's going on here around it.
Yep, awesome. Well, just a way of quick intro. My name's Ollie Garside. I'm one of the co-founders here with Grant at Rounded. Joining us, we've got Sarah, who is in charge of all of our content and keeping us in line. Thanks for helping out, Sarah. And of course, Grant, I'll leave it to you to introduce yourself as well.
So Grant McCall, I'm along with Ollie, one of the founders of Rounded. I primarily take care of the product that everyone uses, from the design through to development.
Awesome. So the purpose of today is just to share with you some of the most recent releases. Hopefully, you've all had the chance to play around with the invoicing upgrade that happened recently. So I just wanted to take the time to make sure that you guys are fully aware of everything that we've built. We also wanted to start with sharing a little bit about the product roadmap and how we make product decisions here at Rounded because it's not always evident the discussion and the thought that goes into choosing what we do. The challenge that we have is not just choosing what to do, it's also being comfortable with what we choose not to do because there are hundreds and hundreds, literally hundreds of things that we could do to build out and improve the product. So, Grant, I thought maybe to start with, you could just talk a little bit about the sources of information and the input that we get from all of our users and externally, and how we kind of combine all of that to make the product decisions that we make.
Sure, sure. So look, with running, a software business like Rounded, and Rounded is perhaps a little unique in a way as well when it comes to the product development life cycle. We've got a number of things that go into the decision-making process. So when we're choosing what we want to build, obviously, in a perfect world, we build everything that our customers want us to build. But the reality is often quite different from that. A modern software business, we have to take into account, obviously, what our customers are telling us and sort of where the market is moving, and we get a sense of that almost daily from our users. But there's, running a software business, also the technical side of things. When you build a product now that's as old as Rounded and as large as Rounded, that sort of becomes its own living organism that needs to be tended to fairly regularly. And the other thing that perhaps is a little unique to Rounded is when we're dealing, we're on the financial side of things. There are also things that take place in sort of that sort of broader sphere, things like, open banking and standards and things that we have to meet. So making decisions around that, it's always a bit of a juggling act, a bit of a balancing act, finding the right, the right things that tick most of those boxes. Sometimes we have to tend to the things that are required for us, like say open banking, but a lot of the time we're also making decisions around what we're going to build for the customers and how we weave in the technical and maintenance work with that.
So if we think about we're going to be talking about the invoicing upgrade, and sometimes a feature is a self-contained feature, right? It's like we are going to build X, and we go off and we build something new. But when we look at invoicing, which is a really core feature, one of the most important features in Rounded, obviously we're very aware that our users like aesthetically pleasing and customizable invoices. This particular improvement isn't just one thing. It's an amalgamation of probably hundreds and hundreds of tiny little requests that we've had for, I wish that Branded could do this. So talk a little bit about how you kind of knit all that together into something that's sort of coherent and allows us to release an improvement that we believe is going to service the widest range and most diverse range of the customers that we have.
Yeah. So with the invoicing upgrade that we released recently, this was quite an interesting project. And obviously invoicing is core to Rounded. It's the #1 used feature. So whenever we make sort of changes here, we need to be very very deliberate, very careful, very considered when we do make upgrades, because it represents 70%, sometimes 70% of the use of the product. So with this invoicing upgrade, there were a lot of components in here that have been there since day one. Like literally since 2015, 2016. So there was a number of sort of goals that we had with this upgrade, with one, to deliver upon a number of the requests that we got from our customers, and you can see all of that in our feedback board. So one of the main things has been around, they want more customization of what their invoice looks like, what their end clients see. So things that, improve their branding, things like font sizes, extra fonts, that kind of thing. The other side of this was obviously, how do we weave in all of the, the technical and maintenance work that we need to do, to make this viable. And so a lot of that decision making is to say, like, these are the things that the customers want to achieve. These are the things that we want to achieve, and where do we find that alignment there? And that's usually, the majority of that process happens before we sort of start actually designing, before we start coding. But a lot of the time too, if anyone's involved in software development, they'll know what I'm talking about. Once you actually start designing, once you start building, things become apparent that don't always show up in those initial that planning phase, right? So with a process like this, it was it was interesting, it was fun, and it was quite exciting for us, because we got to deliver upon a number of things that the customers wanted, especially sort of header images, but also be able to take the invoicing UI and make that consistent across every part of the app. So when I talk about invoicing UI, I mean invoice templates, quote templates, the invoices themselves, quotes themselves, and recurring invoice. Prior to this, we had, the UI was not 100% consistent, and that's due to the age of the product itself. And so there was a real opportunity to bring all of that together and make some changes to that UI that allows us going forward to continue improving upon the actual invoice itself. So now we have that consistent UI. We've been able to separate out the invoice UI from the final invoice that the client sees, and that was really at the foundation of what we're trying to do, so we can continue to make large improvements to the the end invoice for the client.
Fantastic. Well, I think we're at the point of show me, don't tell me, right? So,
Right.
why don't you jump in now? And I think everybody's here to see what we've built and how they can use it, and we'll let the product do the talking.
Sure. Let me just share the screen. So all of those words, it's all you need to enable the sharing, right? All of those words ultimately ends up in some changes that that we see, and sometimes they are quite small, but the amount of work that goes in behind the scenes doesn't always reflect. But let me share my screen here.
Just while you're doing that, I think Sarah's left a message, but guys, we are very open to questions of any kind about obviously Rounded related. And so, as we go through, if you've got questions specifically about the product or really about anything else that we do here at Rounded, please do put them in, and we'll make sure we answer them at the first opportunity.
Yep. Great. Okay, so this has been live now for about a week and a half.
Okay.
Probably the first thing that I'm hoping that a lot of you have noticed is the change to the UI. So now when we look at a template, we get a much cleaner view. We've got the sidebar here, which now is quite consistent. When we actually create a new invoice as well, we get the same consistent UI across quote templates, invoices, invoicing templates, and also recurring invoice. Everything is now consistent and clean, and it all looks the same. So going forward, that has allowed us to now make changes They're going to bring more improvements to invoicing around, different templates, especially in the footer, adjusting logo sizes and that kind of thing. But the main change for a lot of users has been around being able to further customize their template. So over here in the branding and design, we have what is now fairly standard, fairly plain looking invoice. If I add a logo here, the big change here is this header image. So now we are able to choose a header, which really just adds that extra dimension to, the uniqueness of someone's invoice, the way they're able to represent that to their end client. So on top of that, we also have the new design tab over here. Now, this is something that's going to be built out over time. Again, these changes we've made allow us to continue to build upon this design tab inside the branding and design. So we can now choose between different layouts. So that there is the original invoicing layout that's been there for some time. The new two options here are at the top and one in the middle. So we can now adjust also the header height. So if you have a photo that might be, considerably larger than what you actually want to show, you can adjust the header height here to something that is more aesthetically pleasing. And also, if the image is now cropped in a way that you don't like, you can reposition the image vertically here as well. So you can find something that works for you, hit done, and you've now got lovely header images. So that's sort of one of the larger changes that we've made here. But there's also quite a few smaller changes as well that we've made around when we go back to the actual invoicing itself. So now that I've created this on the template, when I go to create a new invoice here, those changes will come across to each invoice that you create. So there's no need to actually go and add header images to each invoice you create. It reads from that template every time. And you can see up here, you can see the brand, who it's to. So we've made changes here to simplify this. It's one of those decisions that we've made around how do we keep this, how do we simplify this, but how do we retain the usability of what we had before so that we're able to continue in making these improvements. So now when we go across to the actual preview of the invoice, all of those changes have come across to the final invoice. We've made changes across the UI for setting the invoice number, the purchase order number. This used to be quite cramped up over in this right-hand side, but now we've made quite a lot of usability feature improvements here. So all of the tabbing now works across all of these fields. And so everything's a lot cleaner and a lot simpler. We've also made changes to how previously when you were able to hide columns. So now the quantity column is always present, but you do have the option to actually to hide that. But what that will do is still keep that here. So we've had a lot of requests over the time to be able to make calculations on the invoice, but actually hide the calculation from the end result. And you also see there's like a number of changes we've made around here, the payment details, accepting online payments in the footer. So all of this is a lot cleaner, a lot simpler.
Awesome, that's great. So any particular questions in the group around invoicing features? We've got some good feedback there from Stephen, who thinks it looks a lot more professional. That's great. We can always come back to this if there are any questions that come in after we move on. But yeah, if you've got questions about the invoicing feature specifically, please just pop them in the chat now. Now, Grant, there was one question from a new user, Andrew, who said if he does have an idea for a feature improvement, where can he put that? How can he find the feedback forum? So I was wondering if you can just can you show that in from this account, because it is available from inside the account.
Oh, right. So yeah, so we have a option here. So I'm running in a local environment. So up inside your user account, roadmap, and feedback. If you were to click that, it does take you to a feedback forum where a lot of our users participate in, and share their ideas, for the application or their particular needs, which is really useful. It's something we've had there for a number of years, and it does provide that interface. For us, to our customers and particular needs. Because sometimes when we're building product, I will go through and look at all of the what's being said from the in-app chat, what's being said on our roadmap, and the feedback board, and often we find particular nuances in there that are sort of representative of the different needs of the different demographics that use our product. So if you click that roadmap and feedback, I won't click this right now because it won't go where we want, because I'm running in a local development environment, but that's where you'll find that. And it's actually just roadmap.rounded.com.au. We can stick the link in the chat here, I'm sure.
Great. Well, we've actually got questions flooding through now. Ellen has asked if we can play around a bit more with font colors and add colors to additional headings. Could you perhaps show a few of the design options, Grant?
Yeah, so we have over here inside fonts, we can choose fonts, and we can choose the font size. Now, font size is actually something that we added only a few months ago. So right now, when you choose a font, you can load up right now I think we've got 20 to 30 Google fonts in here, and it's something that I'm going to look at soon. These fonts have been there for a number of years, and I think we can start looking at Google Fonts is a ever evolving thing, and they've got quite a lot of new fonts now, which are quite nice, that we can look at adding here. So if we wanted a new font, we can go through, select the fonts. Montserrat, Nanitos, Open Sans is a fairly popular, common and very legible font. And also here now is this font size. Previously, we only had a single size, but now we have a number of options. This is also quite handy for long form sort of invoices where the font before was previously locked, and it would sometimes force things onto a second page. But now being able to choose smaller font sizes, you can see how that's adjusting the size of the invoice as we go through that. Now with the actual sort of various colors and things, we can go down here and choose the highlight colors, and there are particular areas in here where you can start changing the actual color around table headers and the total. So that there is found in the brand panel inside the text highlight color.
Great stuff. There's a question from Deborah, and she's asked, there's two questions from Deborah actually. The first question is invoicing security based on your system or on my local system? I'm not entirely sure exactly what question you're asking there, Deborah. I wonder if you might be able to elaborate. Whilst you're doing that, I've had a couple of questions about Stripe fees. And even the language around this is a little bit subtle, isn't it? Because we're not able to pass on Stripe fees, but we are able to add a surcharge to cover Stripe fees. And wondering whether or not we can set up on an invoice the ability to create an option for a customer that they can pay via credit card and include a surcharge for Stripe, or if they can just play by standard EFT and avoid that. So I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit through that for us.
Yeah, definitely. So we can see here, again, I'm running in a local environment and it's not set up with Stripe here, but okay, so in the payment details, we've got options here. So we have accept card payments via Stripe. So Stripe is our partner for accepting online payments for invoices. So you would need to enable this here, which is a simple switch. But prior to that, you would need to have a Stripe account. Now, if this were to be enabled, and you didn't have a Stripe account, it will take you through to create a Stripe account, which is fairly straightforward to do. So once you've got that enabled, you can enable payments for Stripe, and when your clients receive the invoice, if they view it online, there will be a button there to pay that via a card. And also, once that is enabled, there is another switch which will add a surcharge. Now, it's clear to make a distinction between passing on the fees and a surcharge, because you never actually pass the fees and not passed on. You create similar to when if you tap to pay for a coffee and a muffin in a bakery or something like that. There is a surcharge added to the card payment, which is a standard 1.75%. In Australia, you're able to surcharge, and it's only ever allowed to be the amount that you get charged by the card processor. So yes, to answer your question, we can say over here we can put in the regular direct debit details, and over here we can turn on online payments via Stripe, and there is an option to create a surcharge for a card payment. A lot of these things can be linked to, especially like we've got quite detailed help documentation around adding Stripe surcharges as well.
Cool. Just an additional question about from Eleanor around headings and colors. It's not possible to the ability to change header colors is sort of uniform across a particular invoice, isn't it? It's not possible at the moment to pick and choose different colors for different headers. Is that right?
No, not at the moment. It is uniform. It's across. So we've chosen elements on the invoice which we think would be best highlighted and provided the option to do that. We are soon adding some options around controlling more detailed control of the text on the invoice, and that may potentially lead to options where we can control the style of individual elements later on. But right now it's uniform across the invoice.
Okay, cool. And another question, is it possible to have multiple font sizes on an invoice, or does it have to be the same throughout?
Again, it's the same throughout. So the font sizes get adjusted. They're all relative. So right now you cannot choose each individual piece of text and adjust the font size of that. It is relative across the invoice. And again, I guess this is probably what we're talking about when we make some of these sort of product decisions around, what we're able to do, what is something that has the most sort of appeal across all of our customers, and sort of being able to change things sort of uniformly is something that we're able to deliver. Whereas having fine-grained control of that is probably something that we could do, but in terms of the development time to actually achieve that, it's one of those decisions that we make that is going to benefit, have more benefit at a uniform level rather than individual.
Awesome. Now, there are two questions, one from Stephen around how Rounded is traveling as a company, and the other from Deborah around data security. And if you don't mind, guys, I think we will keep those to the end. Just conscious that we're coming up to the hour and we don't have a great deal of time left. And we do want to get to one other product feature that has been released recently for pro users, just to make sure that we can get through that, and then Grant and I can hang on at the end and ask any further questions around that. One of the things that we're concentrating on this year is based around the fact that the new sort of battleground for all accounting apps that all you guys would have seen is payments, and the ability to be able to take payments from anywhere. Not just an invoice, not just a cash payment, but POS, international payments, foreign currencies, all of those sorts of things. And as I'm sure you all know, there are now a myriad of apps that facilitate your ability to be able to take payments of all kinds from anywhere in the world. And we believe that offering a really great experience in being able to reconcile tons of payments from different places is quite important, and something that we're focused on over the coming few months. And we talk about being the destination for all payments that our customers receive. So wondered If Grant, you want to talk a little bit about that, what does it mean? What does it look like? And then obviously perhaps share a little bit around what the new deepened integration with Stripe looks like and how users can benefit from that.
Yeah, sure. So look, as Ollie said, one of the things that's, sole trader businesses are evolving, rather quickly. And, what we're seeing a lot now is sole traders are not just simply sending invoices anymore and accepting payments via that traditional method. Sole traders are now, receiving income from multiple sources for, things like subscriptions, courses, classes, selling physical products, all of these kind of things, and not just sort of traditional service-based, methods of getting paid. So one of the things that we've done recently to kind of facilitate some of this change is sort of deepen our integration with Stripe. Now, one of the main feature requests that we had on our feedback board was the ability to create subscriptions, recurring income, whether that's might be for a course that you run, or if it's a monthly retainer that is consistent for a number of months, that kind of thing. So about a week ago, we released what we're calling the Stripe feed. Now, the Stripe feed is a deeper integration with Stripe that will allow you to easily reconcile any Stripe income, any Stripe transaction rather, within Rounded. So what I'm going to do is just give you a quick demonstration of how that works. I'll share my screen again. So before I share my screen, sort of the prerequisite to this is assuming that you have a Stripe account. Now, getting a Stripe account, again, it's very easy. That sort of sign-up process can be initiated from within Rounded, or you can create that yourself from stripe.com, and that will allow you to create the Stripe account, and then you can then integrate within Rounded. So I will share my screen here. And so what we are looking at here, there are two elements to this. So there is the Rounded side and there is the Stripe side. So what I would like to do is run through the most common feature request we've had around this is a subscription. So again, if you run a weekly course or a monthly course, how can I create that facility for my clients to pay that at a regular cadence without me having to create a manual invoice and send it. So what we have here is the Stripe feed. This is just a test. You can see there's a lot of test data in here already. So you'll find this under the income section and the Stripe feed. So probably one of the best examples again is the subscription. So if I go back over to a test Stripe account here. So what we're going to do is create a subscription and see how that data flows through to Rounded. So inside your Stripe dashboard, you will see the main thing here is called a product catalog. So it's very simple to do. So let's say we've got a weekly course that we want. We can create a product and we can just call this weekly photography course, for lack of a better description. Okay, a subscription for a weekly course, and if I could spell, that would be great. Okay, and so what this also does is allow you to upload some images here. So I've got a course image right there. This will upload, and what we can do here is choose whether we want a one-off or recurring. So in this instance, we want recurring. So let's say the course each week is $100, and we want that to be weekly. So then what we can do is just simply add that product. We have that, the weekly photography course. Now, next step is you obviously want a way for your clients to subscribe to this particular course. So it's very simple to do. Stripe has a thing here called a payment link. So we can go through here, create a payment link, a new one. And if anyone's familiar with Stripe, you'll instantly recognize this. It's something that you've probably seen all over the internet, this particular interface to subscribe or pay for a product. So we can go over here. We can see, what this will do is create a page that you can then send to your clients that they can subscribe to. So we've got our product here. It's $100 a week for that photography course. Put that there, and then it gives you a preview of what this looks like. So $100 a week. And now what we can go, we don't need to do much more. There's some other things here around that you can customize, but for sake of simplicity, we can create that link. And there it is. So that there is your weekly photography course, and you can see this link here. And if I click to copy that, now this is a link that you can share with anyone. Anyone can share this link. So whether you want to send that via an email, via a text message or whatnot to whoever you want to subscribe to that, I've copied that. So I can then here, and now I can see that link here. So now I can subscribe to this. I will need to put on here, create test 2 like this, and I will go. This is just the Stripe test number, and we go through a standard subscription. 26 here. And we go test for 2, and we can click subscribe. I don't want to save that. That will process. Okay, thank you for subscribing. Now, that is done, and we can then go back to our Stripe feed, and then if I were to refresh here, subscription created right there from tester 2. We can see that detail. So someone has subscribed to that. And then we are able to, once it functions very similarly to a bank feed, right? It's a feed of transactions. So we've created the subscription. We can go over here, and now we can add that to the income. We can see that there's a $3.80 Stripe fee associated with that. So we can go add to income, and it tells you here an expense record for the associated $3.80 will also be created. The description here, I can say that was a subscription. I can assign a client as you would with any income record. This is a bit too much information. I don't need that. I can click save, and it will say income has been saved here. You can see that it has been added to the subscriptions category, and over in income, we will see this here. So we can see that there has been logged as income, and also inside the expense, we can see the Stripe fee has been added also. So that's effectively how simple it is to start adding your own subscriptions and getting that data inside Rounded, for easy reconciliation. And obviously, once it's in your income, once it's in your expenses, it all flows through to your reports, your activity statements, all that kind of stuff, as a regular income and expense record would.
So, Grant, I think it's safe to say, that this is pretty much what we would build for any integration with any other payment provider. Right now, I know Stephen has asked a couple of times about what he describes as the elephant in the room and Square integration. But if we had Square or POS, it would look very similar to that, right?
Yes, exactly, right.
You there?
I think I've frozen.
That's okay. We can still hear you. We'll carry on. So I think yeah. The great thing is that with the new technology available and the way that the apps are being built is that what we're trying to do is to create an augmented data feed. Really, what we realize that users want to do is get their data into Rounded as easily as possible. We're not trying to create POS functionality. We're not trying to recreate what Square are doing. We just need to make it easy for you. And I think it's fair to say that, from an integration point of view, there are probably two things that we are focused on building and designing at the moment. One would be tap to pay, so the ability to take peer-to-peer payments. Peer-to-peer payments on your phone. You'll see a lot of that in adverts. Banks are offering it at the moment as well, and just the ability to tap phone to phone and take payments. And then, of course, Square, which is obviously now ubiquitous across hospitality venues, markets, e-commerce, all sorts of things. So, Stephen, yep, Square is coming. I cannot give you a direct date at the moment. All I can say is that I promise you it is at the top of my priorities list. Now, there's a couple of other questions coming in. Now, Sarah, you've asked, sorry, Sophie, you've asked, is it possible to have a record or see what emails have been sent in regards to invoicing? So the answer is yes and no. Depending on how you send your invoice emails. If you are using a Gmail integration, then every email or every invoice that you sent that's initiated via Rounded will appear in your sent items. And of course, there is a timeline history on every single invoice down at the bottom that shows what emails have been sent and when, and also any email actions that have come from that as well. But in terms of, is there a tab within Rounded that shows you all messages that have been sent in one particular space? The answer is no. So unfortunately, we can't offer you that. So yeah, I think depending on exactly what you're needing, even if you don't use the Gmail integration, one option is to CC yourself on all invoice emails, and obviously then you'll get a copy that's sent from Rounded directly to your own email as well, which will allow you to keep them in a separate folder or something of that nature. There are ways, there are workarounds around that. So I'm just going through the other questions now. Okay, so Deborah, data security. So I guess without Grant being here, I'll try and answer this.
I am here, Ollie.
Oh, you are just
Yeah,
off the screen.
my video.
Do you want to just talk about the security, just generally around data security and app security?
The specific question, so I can maybe answer.
I think that Deborah was asking whether or not the security of our app is based on what we provide, or is it based on her local environment?
Right. So the answer to that is both. In reality, it's both. So we obviously have responsibility on our side to ensure that security is front of mind for us all the time, as it should be with any online, software as a service business. We use a number of very well-known infrastructure providers, and we have rigorous processes around our own data security. So that when it comes to our side of things, it's all very standard. It's all very industry standard, all the processes and infrastructure that we use. But there is also an element of data security on the user side, which is ensuring that your own online security is kept up to date. And I guess in terms of Rounded, we'd like to make sure that all of our users are perhaps using a password manager and are using unique, very long passwords, 24, 32, 48 character passwords that are unique to Rounded, that are not shared across any other service. And also that you have two-factor authentication enabled, which is an option within the settings. Now, 2FA is the best line of defense to ensure the security of your account, and you can do that via either a standard SMS one-time password code that gets sent to your phone, or via a one-time password app generator, such as 1Password or Authy or Bitwarden or something like that. So it's two-pronged. The security, the data security when it comes to your account and Rounded, there is the infrastructure on our side that we maintain to standards, and there is also the user responsibility for their own credentials.
Yeah, and I think generally speaking, everybody will be, familiar with stories in the media of large companies being, having their databases hacked or information being stolen. The chances of, in terms of app security, generally speaking, The reasons behind individual accounts being hacked are more often than not user error, and that's not me trying to pass the buck, but certainly things like reused and very sort of insecure, easy to guess passwords. That kind of thing, not using two-factor authentication, it's much more likely that that's going to be the vector for an account hack, as opposed to somebody, some malicious actor trying to hack into to a rounded database or something like that. So, we take the responsibility for security very seriously. It's only going to take one breach. For us to find ourselves in hot water, we're very conscious that we're dealing with your financial data, and we take, every precaution that is feasible for us to take to make sure that that data is kept as safely as possible. Michael, just going back to your comment around quotes, that you have a list of 3 options that you offer to your customers, and it would be great if an invoice could be created, or they could select which option that they want to choose. So that's actually a comment and some feedback that we've had before. So what I would suggest is if you jump onto the product roadmap, you'll probably be able to find an existing item requesting that, and you'll be able to upvote it. So I thoroughly encourage you to be able to do that. Deborah, you asked if you're still going to be able to do old-fashioned recurring invoices. Yep, nothing that we've built has removed that feature or function. And so recurring invoices, you'll find, not only have an updated UI that's hopefully easier to use, but it will work in exactly the same way as well. Now, Lana's asked, if we link our bank accounts, how safe is this? What can the Rounded team see with this?
Right. So look, with bank accounts now in the last couple of months, we have deployed our integration with open banking. So if you were to connect a Rounded bank account to Rounded now, it will go through open banking. Now, open banking is an initiative that has been launched by the Australian ACCC and the Australian government. It is an official standard that has been created for the sole purpose of securely sharing your bank account data with third parties. So it is a very secure process. The whole thing is regulated by the ACCC, and all of the banks need to maintain a particular standard when it comes to open banking. We have recently connected to open banking via a partner called Fiscal. Now, they also fall under that same regulation. So everything from the top all the way down to that data being connected to Rounded is protected under the ACCC. So it's very safe in that regard. Now, what can the Rounded team see with this? The answer to that is nothing, unless it is something that you would like us to see in terms of troubleshooting or helping in that regard.
I think the other point to make is that with open banking, none of your bank details or credentials are stored anywhere within the Rounded environment. Rounded never asks or requests for any of your login details or any sensitive information. You only actually share that directly with your bank to provide the consent to share your data. The other really important feature of Rounded bank feeds is that the data that we have is read-only. So there is no way to initiate any kind of payment or transaction or anything like that from within Rounded. So in terms of the connection between Rounded to your actual bank account and the ability to be able to move money, technically it's not possible. So from that perspective, it's also very safe as well. But open banking is the future of you being in control of your data and being able to give consent to sharing it, with whomever you choose.
And you'll see within your bank as well, there is a lot of fine-grained control. When you go through the process of connecting your bank, there is a lot of fine-grained control about what data is being requested and how long you can actually provide consent for the third party to read that data. And at any point, you can go into your bank usually within the your bank online banking settings, and you can look at all of the consents that you have given, who you have given them to, and it's very easy at any point to revoke that consent. So the actual, as I was saying, the actual process is an authorization process rather than a login process. So you will authenticate yourself with your bank and then choose exactly what you want to share and how long you want to share it for.
Yeah, so it's a little bit new, and the banks are still coming up to speed, some of them as well. So we hope, we're looking forward to some continuous improvement in the ability of open banking as we carry on. Now we are bang on 1:15. So if there are no other questions, Grant and I are happy to stick on. If there are any other questions that you'd like us to answer, we're happy to. But obviously, it's been awesome for us to be able to kind of revive these product AMAs, and I guess some feedback. Whether you give us that directly or whether you put it on your socials would be fantastic. We'd like to know how often you'd like to see these kind of events. We don't want just to be talking for the sake of it, but we want to be able to keep you more informed. We've always tried to be transparent about what we do and why we do it. And so, having so many of you log in today and spend your lunchtime with us is, great validation that, hopefully we're sharing information that you found useful and valuable. So, please do give us your feedback if there's anything specifically that we can cover off. On the next one, we'll certainly try our best to do that. But for now, if there's no other questions, I can't see any around. We'll let you all get back to your day. Oh, no. There's one more. So Lana's asked, can you show a dollar amount discount instead of a percentage on the end of an invoice? So you can't do it on the end of an invoice, I'm afraid, Lana, but you can create a negative line item, which will allow you to choose a dollar amount of discount. And if you jump onto live chat and ask the customer team around how to add a dollar amount discount, make sure that you've got all the information that you need. Thanks, Jane. Really appreciate that. And thanks, everybody, for joining us. Really appreciate it. It's great that we're not just talking to ourselves and that you care enough to come and spend 45 minutes of your lunch break with us, and very much appreciated. So enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and we'll be back probably next month with another one.
Great. Thanks, everyone.